Good morning, everybody. This is Anna from Koala Soap, and today I'm going to be making a pink and black activated charcoal soap. My daughter requested this, and I've never really done, I've done cold process a black with another color because it comes out so nicely. I don't believe I've ever done it with melt and pour. I think I did a dragon eye soap, but I actually painted it. So we're going to actually try it. We'll see how it comes out. She did not want the pink and glycerin. We're going to be using a neon pink from Stardust mica. She wants it in shea butter. So I have shea butter, and a glycerin for the charcoal. And I measured out. I've always been a little off on the measurements here and on the, like whenever I cut the 1 inch, there was always a smaller one. And actually another subscriber brought it up. I remeasured this. This is more like 3.75. I was measuring from here to here, I guess, where I got 4. So 3.75, so you'll get 3 1-inch bars and 1 smaller bar, which you could use as a sample or, you know, whatever you want to use it for. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get these melted down, and then we'll see if the pink will show up with the charcoal. Okay, so we have these melted down. They're about 140s right now. So what I've done is I've already added in my flavor today, which is Yuzu Cybilla from Brambleberry. I'm going to go ahead and do the Poppin Pink first. I'm not going to add it into these other two yet because I'm not. This always takes longer to cool down before I can pour the next color. I'm going to do pink, black pink. So we'll go ahead and we will start mixing our Poppin Pink. So we'll get 1 alcohol in there. And I'm not worried about reheating with the Yuzu Cybilla in there because the flash point's in the 170s. And I'm not going to go above that for this soap here. And someone had asked me where I got these cute little straws or little spoons. Believe it or not, this is from our yogurt place. They have these cute little colorful spoons, and every time I take the kids in, they always give me a few extras. So that is where those came from. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Okay, and just out of curiosity, let's see where we're at on here. 129. It really doesn't matter at what temperature we pour the first layer. Matter of fact, I'll just put it in here so you can see it better. I'm going to add in a little bit more mica than I normally would because I really want the pink to show up, especially because we're using shea butter instead of glycerin. Okay, we will go ahead and stir it up. And it's going to lighten up because it's a shea butter, it's a white base instead of a glycerin base, and that's okay. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour it as best I can, as flat as I can. The flatter you pour it, the quicker it'll cool down so you can pour your next layer. The glycerin cools down so much faster. It's much quicker for me to do that layer, but the shea butter or any of the goat's milks, it just takes a little bit longer. And I honestly don't mind using all this up so that I used to just use one side, but I kind of figured it'll cool down a lot faster if I spread it out a little bit more. Okay. And try to get every last drop in. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to squirt this down. And we are going to wait for this layer to cool. And then if this gets too cool, then we will go ahead and pop it in for another 10 seconds. And then we'll go ahead and add our activated charcoal. So let's wait for this to cool down and we'll be back. Okay, so while we're waiting for this is almost ready here. I still can touch it and a little bit comes up, so I would like a much thicker skin on this. In the meantime, what we can go ahead and do is get our activated charcoal ready. Because remember, even if our glycerin develops a skin, it'll be okay, because as long as the skin has the colorant in it, you know, we'll be fine. Because it's all going to get mushed together anyway, as you know. So what we'll go ahead and do is we will get our activated charcoal. Try to do it away from me just in case I sneeze, which is something I would totally do. I'm going to start with just a little bit. And you need to put the charcoal in the glycerin if you want it to be black. If you put it in a white base at all, it's going to turn gray on you. Yeah, for melt and pour. Okay, so we have our black ready to go, and we can always add more. Okay, we will go ahead and stir, and as you can see, we have our next color ready to go. Okay, so this is at 143. Regardless, it's way too hot to pour. This must be at 135 Fahrenheit or under to pour on top of this once it has its skin, or we run the possibility of it breaking through, becoming muddled, and becoming like a grayish pink. Not what we're looking for on this round. So let's go ahead. We're going to let this set a little bit longer. We have this ready to go, and now if it develops a little bit of a skin, we're okay with it because it's already, the skin's colored now anyway, so once we put it all together, we'll be fine. Okay, so let's let that cool down a little bit more. Okay, I think we're just about ready here. Our pink down here is 78. It's nice thick skin, so if I touch it, it's not breaking through. It's still kind of soft though. And then our charcoal is 124. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to skewer this because we're going to twist it around anyway, but I'm also worried it might poke a hole through. So I will do alcohol though. And what we're going to do is we always kind of start, so I can make a little indent there. We're going to start on the end and kind of see if it stays true. I just really don't. Okay, so we have some skin in there. I'm not sure if it's picking up, but what you're seeing is skin that's in there. And that's fine because we're going to, like I said, we're going to be breaking this up anyway. So feel free to put the skin in there. And we're going to go ahead and let that cool. We're going to squirt it with alcohol. We're going to push this to the side. And then we're going to go ahead and get this one prepared here, this shea butter. This one is currently at 133. So we will go ahead and get our colorant ready. And this is going to be another pink layer. The pink actually looks like it's going to do pretty good here. Okay. And again, I'm okay if there's skin on that other shea butter that we're preparing right now, as long as it has the colorant in it. I just don't want a clear speck in the soap. And that's what would happen. So we'll go ahead and get the colorant ready. We'll squirt it with alcohol so we can get every last bit. And this alcohol will evaporate. We'll use our skewer from our first pink and we will add it in. So you see how it starts out really nice and dark and it just gets lighter and lighter. Okay. There's a little bit of pink still in here. And I actually got this from a subscriber. She said, well, why don't you just squirt alcohol? It gets, I'm going to drop this bath bomb holder in there though. And you can get almost all of it out. And you know, she or he was right. So I've been doing it ever since. So it's a little pearl from a fellow soaper subscriber. Okay, so we're gonna let that sit. We are at 85. We could pour probably in a couple more minutes. You can see I can leave an indent there. So we're gonna just let that sit. And this one can actually get cooler too, so we're good. So we'll be back. So the glycerin has set. It's pretty good. And we are 113, so we're good to pour. We are under the 135. Okay, so we will go ahead and start pouring slowly. And this is pretty set, so I can pour anywhere. Try to cover all of the charcoal. And I don't have that anxiety anymore about anything going off the mat, so this little silicone baking pan or whatever they call it seems to have worked pretty well. So I'm going to try to roll it over a little bit, which is something I couldn't do before when I had just the mats. I'll just try to make sure we have like nice even, as much as we can get. Okay, now we'll squirt this with alcohol. And now we're going to do the waiting game where we wait for this to set. So that's going to take probably about 20-25 minutes, and then we will be back and we'll start the next phase. And we're back. So this is set now, and the test I use is if I can move this and my fingerprints will stay in there, then I know it's not done, but it's done now. So we're going to go ahead and unmold. And you can see that it's still soft. I don't know if you can see the little waves in there as I'm moving it around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start folding it in. Okay, we're going to start doing our squishing, and I'm not too worried if there's still a little bit of this wet like you can see here. We're going to be putting some really warm charcoal colored glycerin in there. And I like to twist. We're going to twist all of this as best we can. If stuff starts falling apart, that's okay. We're actually okay with that. Okay, then we're going to put it into our ball, or something like a ball. If you're having a hard time with a ball, then just put it into the mold like so, and then reform it so you don't just shape the mold. Okay. What I have done in the past, and we noticed it on one of our last soaps, is I try not to have any of the skewer marks that are going straight down. And what I didn't realize was that when we pour really hot glycerin on here, you know, this misshapes because it starts to melt a little bit, which is what we want. And so it's really hard not to get a skewer mark in there. I do have 1-inch marks here and here, and I always use this little hole here as the top. I'm still going to put my skewer in, and I'll try to keep it away from those 1-inch marks, but again, it could melt and it could kind of migrate over. That's okay though. I just want to see if this works because it looks like it might, but we'll see. I'm going to put some holes here. I don't want to use a skewer because it's a little bit too small. And I want to just do one last, let's make sure it's in okay. I think I closed some of my holes in. I could feel it deformed down here, so. I used a little bit more soap in this than I usually do, just because I don't want to have to do a lot of charcoal. I really don't want the primary color to be all black. I would like to see some pink in there. We're going to go ahead and melt this down and prepare it. So we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I have the glycerin melted. It's at 194, so it's still too early to put any of the scent in. We'll go ahead and get a little bit more charcoal. Put that off to the side just in case I need more. All right, so we will go ahead we have our charcoal ready. We'll go ahead and pour it in. Squirt it carefully so we don't get charcoal everywhere. Put this off to the side. You really do want to make sure it turns black, which it did, because you can always add more. Okay, that took it down to 140 because the alcohol is cooler. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and warm this up. I want to pour this at 170, which would be ideal because then we could still add our fragrance, which has a flash point of 176. And we can still melt this so it blends a little bit easier. So I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 10 seconds and then we'll pour. Okay, we are now at 180, so while I'm waiting for that to cool down a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get this in a little bit more. Ideally, we do want a ball, but we may not be able to get it. What I wanted to do was just make sure I had enough pink in there. So we'll see if this works. Just want to make sure I get enough black all the way around. So I'll just keep molding this while I'm waiting for that to cool down. I'm going to push it together here. And once we pour it in, it'll also be easier to reposition a little bit too. Try to get everything in there. Okay. Okay, we're at 169. I'm going to go ahead and add my fragrance and we'll go ahead and pour. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead since we've moved this all around. Let's put our little hole up, so I like to have everything where it goes. Okay, and let's start pouring. Ideally, we're trying to get into all the cracks and crevices and expect air bubbles to pop up. Okay, and the soap will start to melt. You can probably see it on the top now, which is what we want. And then we're going to start squishing it because we want air bubbles to work their way in. And this is why you want to put this on some kind of silicone mat, because it could come out the sides. And I see a lot of air bubbles coming up. I'm going to push it down. Push it down. I'm going to keep. And I don't know if you can see all the air bubbles. And I'm not sure I want to do a flat top. I actually kind of like the top the way it is right now. So my main concern is I really want to make sure that we're not misshaping the soap. So I'm actually okay with the top not being completely flat and some of this coming out over. I think it actually looks kind of nice. We need to be careful though about manipulating this too much, because we don't want this to turn like a gray pink. And we might have some of that anyway, but we just predominantly still want to see the hot pink. We want to see the charcoal. We just kind of want there to be, you know, some distinction here. So what we'll do is we're going to squirt this with alcohol, and we're going to let this set for a few hours, and then we will be back for the cut. Okay, we're back, and I believe it is done. We will go ahead and unmold the soap. Looking a bit interesting. Okay, make sure this gets back into form. Okay, so here's the top, here's the bottom, sides. Okay, let's see how it looks. Now we know we're going to get about 3 1/4 bars off of this. So what you want to do is push this all the way up forward and off to a side. At least that's what works for me. And then you're going to insert your cutter. And you cut straight down. Let's see. Oh boy, there you go. Well, Kane will like that. It almost looks like a face. Okay, so let's do the next one. Well, she wanted these colors, and I finally did it after all these years. Okay, there we go. And if you look, you can kind of see where that doesn't even look bad where it started mixing because it was so hot. That actually looks fine. I don't see any air pockets in here, which is great. I thought I noticed one on the very bottom, so I was a little worried. And now this pink, this is the neon pink, and we put it in shea butter and it still came out this dark, so that's pretty awesome. Okay. So there you go. We finally have a pink in black charcoal. And so we did her colors that she wanted, and we got some nice little curls in there. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Links to absolutely everything that I use are in the bottom description. And I hope you guys have a really good day. Thanks for joining me.